All right, so today we are going to discuss about Docker images, okay, and Docker storage and Docker networking. These are the topics that we are going to cover today. We'll start with Docker images, but we are not directly going to jump over Docker images. First, we will understand the whole process, right? And I think we have discussed this process in detail. So let me again copy this thing and drag it here. This is the main crux, the main concept of Docker. Okay, how we can containerize any application, and you will see that most of the time I'll come to this diagram and explain you again and again. So this is what we need to understand if we want to create any Docker. Okay, if you want to create containers, not Docker necessarily, containerization process. If I want to create a container, the process is very simple. First, we'll have an application code, right? This is our application code. This code may be written in Python, Java, Go, whatever it is. That code must be written by the developer. Okay. From this code, we want to run as a container. This is what we want. We want to run this code in the form of container, but we cannot directly run this code as a container. There are kind of a process in between that we need to follow. In order to run container, what is required? If you want to create a container, run a container image, Docker image is required. Okay. Last session we have discussed, right? What is Docker image? It is as a concept wise, it is same as AMI or AMI of AWS EC2 or an ISO image. Okay, concept wise, because that's a read-only file, and that it's a kind of it's something like if you want to build an EC2 instance, we need an AMI, right? And AMI is also a read-only thing. So this is similar to that. We need a Docker image. But how to create this Docker image? Docker image must have your code. Okay, Docker image must have your code plus dependencies. Whatever is required to run this code, everything should be baked inside this Docker image. And what we do basically, in between there is another process step that we creation of a Dockerfile. So what Dockerfile does, it contain your code. It knows the location of your code plus whatever is required to run your code. Whatever is required to run your code, we document everything in the Dockerfile. Okay, this is what a Dockerfile at very high level, or I'll say in its simplest form. Okay, so let me write it what is Dockerfile. If I go here, so what is Dockerfile? So Dockerfile is a simple text file. Okay, it's a text file that contains set of instruction, and the instruction is basically telling Docker how to build an image. That's it. What you should contain in this particular image. If I'm writing a code, that code should be there. The location of the code should be there. If I want to run this code, what are the things that is required to run this code? Everything is basically we are going to tell instruct in the Dockerfile. So Dockerfile is a simple text file that contain a set of instruction. Okay, set of instruction. What are those instruction? We will see, but the instruction will tell Docker how to build an image. Okay, this is what we need to understand. It is something like it's a recipe for your Docker image. That's it. Okay, it describes everything. If you want to write a Python code, we must be knowing it in order to run Python must be installed. My applications listens on the port number 5000, so the port must be exposed. My application has some dependency of some libraries and a specific package. That package must be installed. So whatever is required to run my application code, that I am going to tell in Dockerfile, that I am going to document in Dockerfile. Okay, and with whatever we have document in Dockerfile, with respect to that, an image will get built. When the image will get built, we can create container out of it. So this is how these things are related. This is what the most important stuff, this is how these things are related. Let me take a screenshot of it. We will put in our GitHub repository. Okay, I hope you folks are following my GitHub, right? I have uploaded a lot of document there. Okay, and a lot of labs there so that you can understand everything. So yeah, so let's move ahead. Yeah, Anup, you have any question?